Hi guys, I'm Paige from Paperbacks and Lattes, and today I will be answering the questions for the mid-year book Freakout tag. Okay, so I finally decided to do this tag. I've seen a lot of people do it. I wasn't going to do it originally because I just didn't feel like I was qualified to do it for some reason, but I decided finally that I want to do it. So there are 13 questions and I will have them listed down below in the description box, and I will go ahead and get started answering these questions. The first one is best book you read in 2020, and without a doubt it is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I'm really late to the whole the Court of Thorns and Roses series, and so I just read the series this year, and my favorite book in the series is the second book, and I just want to say Feyre and Reason. If you've read the books, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't read the books, I don't want to give anything away, but those are just my favorite characters from the story and how the second book played out. So I don't want to ruin anything, but I am just hearting those characters and what they mean in the second book. I just adore A Court of Mist and Fury and love it so much. The second question is best sequel you've read in 2020. And the sequel that I picked is Heart Recaptured by Tilly Cole. I read the first book in the series, It Ain't Me Babe, in the Hades Hangman series last year, but I never went further in the series. I just kind of put it down for some reason. I really loved the first book, but I never did pick up any more. And so finally, I decided to pick up the next book in the series. This is a motorcycle club series, and it follows Kai, who is the vice president in the series, and he is enraptured by this girl that they rescued from a cult. And she, of course, is still kind of ingrained with the doctrine that they taught her growing up. So she wants to go back to the cult because she's just brainwashed. But he's trying to just teach her that, hey, that's not right at all. What you grew up with is completely wrong. How they treated you was wrong, and now I'm here to protect you. And I just really love a good motorcycle club romance book, and I've continued further on in the series and completely adore the series. The third question is a new release you haven't read but want to. And the answer for this one is Beach Read, and I'm totally blanking on the author's name. I didn't write it down. I have all my answers written down. I forgot to write down the author's name, so I will put the picture, of course, of the book. So I want to say her name is Emily, but I'm not 100% sure. I wasn't planning on reading this book, at least not anytime soon. It just didn't sound like something that would interest me, but I have seen several booktubers reviews of this book, and it does sound quite amazing. So it is a new release that I haven't read yet, but I want to. Number 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year of 2020. And that is, I have 2 books picked for that question. I was just going to answer with one book, but I discovered yesterday that Mariana Zapata is coming out with a new book, and I am so excited. It is called Hands Down, and I'm hands down excited for it. So, and then of course the book that I was going to originally pick is Rain by Sahoban Davis. It is the 3rd book in her Sainthood of Lowell Boys High. I think that's what the series is called. It's a reverse harem bully romance series, and I've read the first 2, and I'm just waiting for the 3rd one to come out to complete the series. So I'm looking forward to that one, and of course I'm looking forward to the new Mariana Zapata book. It's a sports romance, which I'm totally here for, and yeah, I cannot wait. Number 5 is biggest disappointment, and this is really hard for me to answer because I don't really read that many disappointing books. I read what I like, so I really don't have that many. There have been a few short stories that I haven't really liked, but not counting short stories or novellas, which are not my cup of tea, I would say the Bromance Book Club by LYSTA K. Adams. And I know that people are going to be like, what? Because most people love this book, and I did. I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. Obviously, I liked it. But there are just things in that book that just irritated me, and it was just, I wanted to give it a 5 stars, but I just couldn't because the sister of the heroine in the book, just really got on my nerves. And the reason for the book is about a guy, he's a baseball player, and he and his wife split up because of marriage problems. And so he joins his teammates' romance book club in secret to try to help his marriage. But the reasons for the marriage problems were just really silly to me. And me being in an actual marriage, I'm like, I don't think I would split up my family for something that trivial. If that's my biggest disappointment read for 2020, I'd say I'm doing pretty good. But I still did give it 4 stars. I still obviously liked it, but there were just things about it that I did not like. Number 7, favorite new author, and that is Brittany C. Cherry. I have read several of her books in 2020, and I am continuing reading her whole backlist. I definitely adore her books, and I love how emotional and hard-hitting they are. Sometimes they're hard to read, but that is just really what speaks to my soul. I'm okay with rom-com sometimes, but I love to connect to these characters on a deep emotional level. So I really love her stories and how emotional and deep they are. Number 8, newest fictional crush. And I have one name for you, Reason. And the Court of Thorns and Roses fans will understand. But yes, Reason all the way. Number 9, newest favorite character. And I would have to say Archer from Archer's Voice. I just really loved his character. He was dealt such a bad hand in life. Like, everybody abandoned him. He grew up with an uncle who was kind of, his brain was altered from being in the military. It was just, he suffered so much, and he couldn't speak. But he taught himself sign language. He taught himself everything. I mean, the whole town didn't like him. His own family didn't like him. But he persevered through everything to create a beautiful life for himself. And he still, was a great person in spite of all that. So I think that would be my newest favorite character. Number 10, a book that made you cry. And this was so easy to answer. This is Full Tilt by Emma Scott. This is about a girl who is a guitarist in a band that is up and coming. And she has family problems, which leads to drinking problems. And she's just really having a hard time of it. And this limo driver is hired to transport the band from their house that they're staying in to the venue. And she gets so drunk at her concert that, like the after party, that her bodyguard pretty much just throws her in a car and says, take her, because there was just chaos that ensued at the venue. And of course he couldn't leave her by herself because she was passed out in the back seat of his car. So he took her home to take care of her, and she formed an attachment to him because she loved his simple life. She wanted to get away from all the craziness because she wanted to stop drinking and just live a more normal life. And there's a whole other story in that book that is just completely sad. I cried my eyes out. Such an emotional book. I don't think I've ever cried as hard from a book as I did with Full Tilt. Number 11 is a book that made you happy, and this is Beard Science. This is the third book in the Winston Brothers series by Penny Reed. I was looking forward to this book. This book follows Cletus. He's one of the brothers in the Winston brother family. He is just so adorable to me. He is just quirky and odd, but still funny, and just, he's such a lovable character. I have laughed out loud from every book I've read in that series because Cletus, what he says and what he does in every book makes me laugh. And I was so excited to read his book. And just the things he thinks of, the things he says, it's just, you just have to read it and see for yourself. He's funny, and I really enjoyed reading his book. 12 is the most beautiful book you've bought or received this year. I really don't buy a lot of physical books. I tend to just read ebooks because it's cheaper. I pay for the Kindle Unlimited service and the Scribd service, so I really don't buy a lot of physical books. Sometimes I'll pick up a book or two at a thrift store, but I really don't buy a lot. So really the prettiest book I bought this year was A Court of Thorns and Roses, the first one in that series. And the last question, number 13, what books do you need to read by the end of this year? And I will get out my list. Of course, the ones I've already said, hands down by Mariana Zapata, Rain by Sohopen Davis. Those are two immediate books that will be coming out in the month of July that I'm totally here for. And then I also want to read the rest of the books in the Winston Brothers series, the one I was just talking about. I love that family. I love the small town atmosphere, and I want to read the rest of the books in that series because I just love them so much. I also want to read the Pucked series by Helena Hunting. I read the first one, Pucked, a couple months ago, and so I really enjoyed that one. And I heard that there are further on down the line there are other great books in that series, so I do want to read those as well. Plus I love sport romances. And then of course any books by Brittany C. Cherry and Autumn Gray. I am reading currently right now my first Autumn Gray book, and I've really heard that her books are great and are comparable to Brittany C. Cherry, so she's half as good as Brittany C. Cherry. I'm totally here for that. And so yeah, those are just a few of the books that I want to read this year. Of course, my TBR list is very, very long. There are hundreds of books that I want to read, but those are just some off the top of my head and to keep this video from going any longer. So those are all the questions for the mid-year book freakout tag. In the comments below, let me know your answers to the questions for this tag, and I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.